Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddard. Very excited about today's guest. This man has some accomplishments, I'll tell you, and some things that he's going to pour into us. Just in my little bit of time that I've known him, he's somebody who loves to pour into people. Today, we're going to be covering objection handling and mindset for real estate agents. He's also going to share how he earned just last year alone $250,000 just through Zoom First Time Homebuyer classes. So if you're trying to get creative on ways that you can be very effective, regardless of the market, regardless of whatever situation we're in, this is your man. I'm excited to have him here. Before I fully introduce him, let me remind you that inside of the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook, we go deeper on these topics. The reality is you listening to us talk is going to help you a little bit. You coming and engaging in the conversation and being part of the conversation is going to help you a lot of bit. So come join us there in the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook. Today's guest, back to him, his name is Brad Vanderwall. He's out of Calgary, Alberta. He runs the largest RE/MAX office in the world. The man knows a few things about success. As I mentioned, his passion is coaching, but he's a high producer as well. Brad, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, let's dive right in because I know people that are big thinkers, they don't have a lot of time to mess around. They're here to get some information and apply it and start thinking big, start creating some achievements in their world. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, right away, talk to us about this first-time homebuyer strategy via Zoom. How did you get people to attend? What was your strategy? Give us some kind of nuts and bolts that we can apply today.
This is literally my favorite thing that I've ever come across. I'll tell you, if you don't mind, I'll tell you the backstory and kind of how we got to there. So I was doing first-time homebuyer seminars in brick and mortar at the end of 2019. And my mortgage broker came to me. He's like, we got to start doing these. I'm like, man, like it's Canada. Like there's 10 feet of snow. Like nobody's ever going to show up to these things, right? So people actually started showing up and we didn't know what we were doing. We just kind of posted something on Facebook. For those of you that know me, technology is my least skill, like next to like running marathons and stuff like that. So like, I would say it's just not my jam, but we found a company that advertised and we had people that actually showed up and we're like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. 10 people, maybe 15, but then, it was weather dependent. We had not the best part, like for parking, but then people have to drive across the city sometime. So then COVID hit. And then he looked at me and we're like, Canada was in lockdown. Like, 30 days, like you're really not going anywhere. It was a little bit different than the States. And he's like, let's start doing them via Zoom. And I'm like, what's Zoom? And I'm like, it sounds like this is never going to work. He's like, no, seriously. He's like, I didn't know what it was. He's like, Zoom, you come on, you do this. I'm like, man, I'm not going anywhere for 30 days. I'm willing to try anything to not go crazy. So we actually did the first one. We actually had about 15 or 20 people on. And we're like, really? Like, okay. So we kind of fumbled our way through that one. I ended up closing a couple deals from it. And I'm like, there's definitely something here. So then we learned from that. We adjusted a couple different companies. At one point, we were getting between 20 to 25 people on, and about 10 people would sign up for my mortgage broker. So how I have it is we do our presentation. They all sign up with the mortgage broker at the end. The mortgage broker does the pre-approval and then his team ships them off to me. It's beautiful. They do all the follow-up. Thank you, Josh. So, we were getting that many, and then now it's evolved. And then the production started going down, the attendees started going down, and then our attendance rates. So then I started with this marketing company in Canada, and I'm like, guys, I need more leads. I need more people there. Well, the first one that they did for me, I couldn't even believe it. We had 100 people registered and 80 people showed up. And I'm like, all right, like now we're talking. Like now this is some severe stuff. And they actually, for anybody that's interested, you can, I'll pass the number off to you. It's a company that does it out of Canada. They have secure spots so they don't oversaturate it. Anyways, it's the best thing you've come across.
So now it's Brad. So it's Facebook ads. I'm assuming that's how they're driving it, or
yeah. So I don't know anything about how they set it up. It's super cool, and they do it at an extremely high level. So that I know that they get them via Facebook, via Instagram, but it's their follow-up system with high level, the CRM, that really helps the attendance, because our attendance rates were not great, but now we're at about a 75% attendance rate, but we're also at about a 90 to 95% retention rate. So one of our bigger ones that we had 125 people sign up, 100 people showed up right on the dot, and 94 people stayed to the end. 33 people booked an appointment with my mortgage broker to get pre-approved.
It's a brilliant strategy, isn't it? I mean, you look at whatever situation is out there, there's always a silver lining. I hope that if that's one thing that you take away from this is, I don't care if it's a tight seller's market. I don't care if there's national lockdowns. The reality is somebody somewhere is figuring out some way to take advantage of that, get a competitive advantage and start winning. And you're like living proof of that. You had 80 people show up for a first time homebuyer class, right? When the rest of the world was like scratching their head thinking like, crap, like how am I going to, generate revenue?
And then we took it to the next level too. And Zoom is going to be something that people like realtors get it. Like, don't fight it. I don't understand it. Like the StreamYard stuff, I don't get it. Whenever I do mine, I have my team. Like if you don't know it, find somebody that does, because it's super important. Tech is not my thing. It literally gives me anxiety and makes me shut down. That's just who I am. But sales, amazing. Ideas, amazing. I'm just not great with this. But, we're even at the point now where a lot of people don't understand Zoom is the way, and it's super efficient is what I love about it. Now what we're doing with our buyers agreements and meeting buyers, we're doing it via Zoom. We go over our buyer's presentation over Zoom. And then after that, we send them literally our buyers, our BRAs, so our buyer's rep agreements. So we have buyer exclusive via DocuSign, and we get them to sign it right there. So we do a Zoom, they sign up with us, move on. I don't have to drive half an hour to my office in case they don't show up. If somebody doesn't show up to a buyer's agreement, which is going to happen, guess what? I'm either at my house or I'm whatever. I haven't wasted much time, and I can get back on the phone and do something else. So use Zoom as much as you can, or whatever platform you want, and do it to get buyer's agreements. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
Let's talk about that, because I believe that's something that a lot of agents are curious about right now, right? We have a tight market, a lot of competition for very few houses.
Yeah.
And agents would love to be able to lock people into an agreement to where if they submit 2 or 3 offers, the client doesn't say, we're going somewhere else, right? They want to have a commitment from somebody. And I think that's what it takes, is to be completely committed to making it work, right? So talk us through some of the objections that you get when you approach people with wanting to have them sign a buyer broker agreement.
You know what? Because great question. Now we don't get too many. Before, we've refined it. I've been a realtor for 12 years. We've been getting buyer's agreements out of the gates, like pretty much mandatory. Like, you know what I mean? It's something that we do and it's something we believe in. If I'm going to go in and I'm going to put this much time, I want to make sure that I'm going to be compensated for it, just like them. So, I don't really have too many. Some of them, it's like, I want to think about it. Then if they say I want to think about it, it's like, look, let's just do a 30-day trial. Trust me. And then because normally I do a year, but if I can't get them there, I ask them for a simple 30-day trial. I'm like, if you're not happy at the end of the 30 days, there's a chance I'm not happy either. And I just tell them, I'm like, I've only had 2 people ever asked to be out of this. And one is because we just weren't a fit, full disclosure. And the other one was the fact that their uncle went and became a realtor. So it's not like people are getting out, but if they want to get out, people want to have the ability or feel that they can get out. But if you're good enough of a realtor and you show them value and you market some areas or you flyer some areas for them and take that extra step that another realtor won't do, they're going to be like, oh, this realtor's actually doing something for me. So you have 30 days to prove your worth is how I look at it. And if you can't, ultimately it's on you, in my opinion.
Well, I think at any time in any agreement, you're constantly winning people over. Like you have to be continually putting your best foot forward. If you're the type of agent that just wants to get people locked into a contract so you can do a lousy job, then I agree. As your client, I would not want to be in that contract. But to be in a contract with somebody like Brad, that's like constantly proving himself and saying, look, if we agree that this isn't the right fit, I'll let you out, right? This lets me know you're serious, right? I mean, is that kind of the like part of the objection that you're overcoming, is the fact that, hey, me as a realtor, there aren't as many homes as there are buyers. I have to be selective in who I work with. I want people that are committed, not people that are kind of window shopping, kicking the tires. This shows me that you're serious, that you actually want a house, and I'm going to then invest in helping you get what you want. Is that
right? Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And the other thing too that's super important that I found is an exclusivity piece to it. We found it's like, look, I only take on 3 or I only take on 5, whatever that number is. I only take on a certain amount. And then to be honest, I just found somebody a house last week, so I'm able to come in and now I have an extra spot. I'll be honest, whether that's true or not is irrelevant. You pick your number, but I found that creating an exclusivity also helps. Because if you're like, I can take on 100 buyers and I'm just going to do this, people are like, man, what makes you special? But I also have my Platinum Plus purchase program that I created that if anybody wants, I'll send to them. So if you want that, Justin, let me know. But it's something that's helped me. And you literally, so you see this guarantee that I have. and I go through it all, and I don't have it in front of me, but I go through about 15 different things that I do for them, and I go over. So whenever I'm asking them to come on the meeting, I'm like, have you ever heard of a platinum purchase program? And they're like, no other realtor has. And I talk about, we get them foreclosures, door knock, off market, and I kind of describe it a little bit. And they're like, oh, well, the other realtor just set me up on MLS, or you hear all these different things. I'm like, no. I'm like, we actually go and do this stuff for you. They're like, yeah, sure, I'd love to meet. And now with Zoom, my show-up rates are higher because it's easier. And then my conversion rates are even higher because I'm literally going over absolutely everything I do. And the best advice I can give somebody is make somebody feel special and make somebody feel heard. So we literally have a 2-page questionnaire with probably 25 questions that we ask. It's like, great. What do you expect in your home? Do you do a lot of entertaining? And I'm keeping notes and I'm writing all this down. So it's a long process, but they feel heard because I'm asking them almost every question you can think of. So they feel like this person's actually listening to what I want. And that's been a major part of our success, is by incorporating these things.
You know, one of the things I talk about in my book, The Upstream Model, is that it's not just about getting creative ways to get to the customer earlier. You actually have to be better. Like at the end of the day, algorithms and technology are getting better, and they're starting to take away some of the responsibilities that an agent used to do. And agents get really upset about that. They're like, hey, shut that company down, ban them from the RMLS. That's never going to work. That's a quick way for you to lose the rest of your cheese, right? Like, yeah. The goal is you actually have to get better, and you actually have to get better at communicating that to your clients. I love the fact of this. I already have somebody asking for this platinum purchase program. So we definitely want that. We'll give it to everybody that's listening into the show. And if you're not yet in the group, I'll post it in the group. Think Bigger Real Estate. Awesome stuff, Brad. Excited to get our hands on that. I think that will really help us, again, be better, because that's step one. We can't just trick people and tell them that we're better than Redfin or some of these other companies. We actually have to be better.
Correct. Like I've never been, I remember that. So something, and I'm going to give some advice and take it for what it is. One of the guys I first started working with, I remember he came in, he's like, never watched the news. Because in 2009 in Alberta, it was just terrible. Like there was $30,000 bonuses on houses and they still wouldn't sell. So, I mean, like it was gross, like absolutely gross when I came in, but I didn't know the difference. So I just put my blinders on and I just worked, because that's what I'm great at doing. And then I ended up being out of 5,500 realtors. I started April 1st. I ended up being in the top 200 in the worst market we had seen. So the advice that he gave me, though, was like, don't watch the news. Don't watch this. So the challenge is like the mindset part of it is I don't watch the news. I don't do that. And I remember I didn't listen to him. And I went on. It's like this was like 10 years ago. It's like the next job to be extinct. I'm like, ha, who's the sucker who's not going to have a job? And it's like, realtor. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, I can't, like, I just started, like, I can't not have a job. And that's 10 years later. A big article on Yahoo at the time said how we're going to be, useless basically in the next it's been 10 years and we're no worse off. So just be careful with what you're doing. Mindset's a big part of real estate.
I think that's a perfect segue. I do think there are agents that probably deserve to be replaced, right? Who, as you said, aren't actually interested in serving people at a high level. I do believe that there will be an exodus out for those that don't innovate, that don't get better. People that learn from people like you, Brad Vanderwall, people who get coached, who learn the right mindset, they'll be fine, right? There will be a profitable niche in this industry. It's too big of a purchase. It has too much of an impact upon people's net worth for people to turn it all over to technology. I think it was actually Jason Abrams who said at a big event here recently, he said, anytime people swipe right to get a house, people are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, you actually, if you have an expert consultant who can actually see the big picture and ask the questions that you're asking in your consultations, people are going to be served at a higher level, and there will be a return on whatever fee you pay to a realtor. It will make sense financially, not just because it's always been done that way and historically that's what we do. No, it'll make you more money to be able to have an expert consultant in your corner. So let's talk. In fact, we'll get to the mindset here in a little bit.
Sure,
I know you are a coach, Brad. Tell us a little bit about kind of what coaching with Brad looks like, and I also want to hear where do some coaching programs fall short, and what makes a great coach?
Wow. Okay, that's pretty loaded. Where do coaching programs fall short? I find coaching programs fall short from, full disclosure, being too expensive and not providing enough value. I'm not going to mention names because they have helped me get to where I am, but I'm looking at it and like, I'm spending $2,000 a month for 4 30-minute calls. I'm like, man, okay, I'm like, but then the problem is you get to be friends with your coach. And then for the first 15 minutes of it, you just talk about numbers, which is pretty useless in my opinion at times every single week, like once a month maybe. But then now you have 15 minutes left to really cut to it. So I think for all the coaches out there, it's just literally amp up value. Like I want to provide everything for free. Like I'm an open book. I literally, get a load of this, I literally teach every single Thursday for anybody who wants to come, how I do my first time home buyer seminars. Absolutely free. Every single Thursday, right? Even in my own backyard. Guess how many people have reached out to me in the last 8 weeks to ask me actually how to accomplish that?
Not as many as you think.
One. Teach in your own backyard, because most people aren't going to do it anyways. So that's the thing is, I think as somebody, if you're looking for coaching, the first rule that I have with somebody is have a look in the mirror. Are you willing to do the hard work? Are you willing to do what it takes? Just because you get a coach doesn't mean that you're going to excel. You have to want to do what they say. You still have to put in the work. And that's what I tell my guys and girls. I'm like, look, I'm going to teach you everything. I'm not here to babysit you, because that's not how I do it. We're all adults here. I think my youngest person's 19 and he's a rock star out of somewhere Texas. But like most people are in their 20s, 30s. Do you know what I mean? Like you've had life experiences. We're all going to go through peaks and valleys, but want to do the work. And I think that's the most frustrating thing is that people are like, oh, this doesn't work. Okay, let me ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, looking your wife, your kid in the face, and they're asking you, Daddy, how hard did you do this out of 10? If your answer is a 4, tell your kid a 4. But that's something that you have to look in the mirror and decide for yourself. And that's the hardest thing that people don't understand is that it still takes work. You know, you can't be a top agent. You can't be a top athlete. You can't be top anything without the work. You can't just read a book and be like, I've read it. I'm not going to now implement anything, but I'm a genius. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So I think that if you have any coaching, any program, I think the first step is looking at yourself and make sure that you're coachable and you're willing to be coached.
I love it, man. Powerful stuff. Let's jump into the mindset portion. Obviously, the Think Bigger Real Estate Show has an underlying theme of thought for things, and everything begins in your own mind. Like you actually have to create it in your mind spiritually before you can go create it in real life. And I believe that a lot of people have amazing skill set, amazing talent, amazing work ethic, yet they get caught up in their own brain. They get in their own way because they overthink stuff, right? Or they don't have enough confidence in themselves. What are some of the best tactics, strategies that you use, Brad, to help unlock people's mindset when it comes to really being in pursuit of their potential, of recognizing who they are and what they can actually do in this industry?
I think it's finding out who they are and where they're at. That's like kind of the first phase when I go there. And I'm pretty vulnerable. Like I can talk. I think a great attribute I have is vulnerability. Like I suffer from depression. I suffer from anxiety. It's something that has just been a part of me since I've been a kid. And so for me, my mindset at times can be difficult because sometimes I don't want to get out of bed. Sometimes I don't want to shower. So having been there, and a lot of people have been there before too, I tend to get people to open up to truly tell me where they're at and what that takes and what they're looking to do. So I think that I don't know, man. Like it's really, really tough. Like I get emotional with people because I'm emotional. Like I wear like you can see my eyes are almost watering up right now when I talk about this. Like I live my life with passion. I live my life with dedicating myself and helping people. See, I can't even control it. Like it's just something that I do. So I want to help every single person that I can. And that's why I believe that I'm here. So whenever I meet somebody, I just want to find out what their journey is, what their struggles are. And then if I can help in any way, if I can take anything out of this, that's huge. And mindset for me is it's okay not to be okay, because there's days that you're not going to be okay, but just try not to be there very long. Like last week, not 2 weeks ago, for 3 days, I was useless. Well, my version of useless. And I know I'm going to snap out of it, but just got to have the mindset and keep doing it. And I see a therapist every week to help with my mindset. I call her my life coach and she hates it because she's actually a therapist, right? So I'm like, oh, my life coach. She's like, I've been to school for enough to not be a life coach, but find something that's going to help you do that. Whether it's, listening to books, find an author, find something that keeps you motivated, because there's going to be, as realtors, we get beat down pretty much on the daily. Let's call it a spade a spade. So find somebody that motivates you, find somebody what it is, and keep doing that, and make sure that if you stay down, don't stay down too long. And if you need help, it's okay to ask for help. It doesn't make you weak if you ask for help. It makes you strong because you have the courage to ask for help.
Man, there's powerful principle there. I think on the outset, people would have looked at you and said, this guy's freaking invincible. Like his energy, his posture, his tactics, his strategies, his production, running the largest RE/MAX office in the world. Like he can do no wrong. So powerful to hear you say you're just like the rest of us. You've got down days. You got days where you question yourself, you doubt yourself. I think you nailed something there really quickly is just don't stay there very long, right?
Yeah.
What do you do to pull yourself out of that? Let's say you're in that spot. It sounds like you've got some professional help. I love that.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I'll actually show you if you want me to be completely honest. What I do, this. I don't have an hour in a day that I don't have something. You know what I mean? Like I do this. Yeah. And if I get up and if you're down, because a lot of people won't do things for themselves in life, right? Like it's hard to do something for somebody else. I'm part of the SPAR challenge where I go on the Peloton. I have to do it 5 times a week. And one of my boys, Kyle Whistle out of San Diego, one of the top realtors out there. So he challenged me to do this, right? I wouldn't have, like, I went and played ball hockey last night, but I have to go on the Peloton every day. So I still came home after ball hockey. I'm so sore today, I can't move, but I made a commitment to him and my group that I'm going to go on the Peloton. So after playing ball hockey, I still came on and do the Peloton. So if you're having a hard time committing to yourself, with a lot of individuals have, because you don't have the motivation, find somebody to make a commitment to. Find somebody to make a commitment to, because most people do more for others than they will for themselves. And that's such a true statement. So tell your wife you're going to do something. Tell your kids you're going to do something. Have them be on board and have them be goal oriented. And I tell a lot of my people, like, hey, look, have somebody that's in your family or in your close circle that when you hit your goal, what do you guys want to do? Whether it's Disney, whether it's Europe, not really right now, but you know what I mean? Find something so that way the kids are like, you know, put money in a jar or put marbles in a jar every time you sell a house, and the jar has to be full to go. Get your family on board so they're motivating you, because you're going to find times you don't want to do it. But if you look at your kids in the face, or your wife, or if you're single, look at yourself. You look at yourself in the mirror every day. Have something literally on the mirror. I have stuff on my mirror. I have stuff on my back door to remind me every day of my goals. Every day I walk out in and out of my house and I have my goal in the back of my door of how much money I want to make. Every single day I see that. And I shit you not, the very first year that I put that up, I hit it. And it's not a coincidence, because every day I'd see it. So there's different things you can do to help yourself out. If you're not going to do it for yourself, find somebody you know you would do it for.
Brad, there's so many powerful principles embedded in everything you said there. There's a quote by James Clear. He's the author of Atomic Habits that I highlighted this past week.
Beauty book.
It's an amazing book. It talks about culture and about your environment, how those have a larger impact upon your habits than anything else. And he said, if you really desire to have better habits, find a culture or an environment where your desired behavior is the standard behavior there, right? And what I heard you just say is to start to actually create the environment.
Yes.
Right? If it's with people around you, you bring in new players into your life, right? I just brought you into my life, right? Now I'm operating today and will forward at a higher level because I now know Brad Vanderwall, right? Like you start to bring intentionally people into your life who are operating at these very high levels. You start to put quotes, you start to put things around, like you build the environment that's actually going to turn you into the person you want to be, right? We're not like this inanimate object, like a rock, and we just have to stay there. And unfortunately, we're under a tree we don't like. We can freaking get up and walk and go, like, put ourselves in some other part of the garden. Like, I hope all of us realize that the power of the principles that you're teaching us here is that if you don't like the life that you have right now, guess what? You are the author. You hold the pen. You get to write the story. So start putting yourself around other people that can inspire you, a different environment that will inspire you to have that better life, that better environment that will inspire all of that. It's great stuff, man. My final question, Brad, and we've kind of already hit on this, but you're on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show because you are a big thinker. What do you do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities, right? You've already created some big freaking stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And you're not slowing down. My guess is that like you're just starting to scratch the surface of like what Brad can do and the impact that Brad can have. So what do you do to continue to grow?
Well, one thing we're doing, we're launching a coaching program in the next little bit. It's called Double Your Income Coaching. It's going to be the first free coaching program for anybody, for any realtor. As of right now, it's going to have 15 different live coaches. So it's something different. It's something unique. We have 15 coaches. Now, these 15 coaches will teach 15 different topics every single week. So, for example, Steve coaches how to get listings from retirement communities, which I'm telling you is a gold mine. A lot of people don't think about it, but guess what? The elderly come in, they have to sell their home. Most people in their 70s or 80s haven't had a realtor in forever, so they're going to trust wherever they're going into. Absolute gold mine. We have Shane, who literally, he goes in and he calls people that have places for rent. And that's what a lot of people don't do, is you're assuming that because somebody has a place for rent, like an investor, that, oh, they just want to rent it. Start calling them and see if they want to sell. Maybe they don't know how high the market is. They have no idea. You're going to catch somebody that literally just had a crappy tenant that's like, yeah, I want to sell. And the best part about this and everybody's market is they don't have to go buy a place. So it's not like, oh, I don't want to sell because I have nowhere to go. They just want to sell. It's an absolute hidden gold mine. Maddie teaches how to protect your income via Zoom. So he does Zoom seminars on the first time on getting buyer's agreements done. So there's all sorts of things like that. And, you know, the think bigger, and you can say whatever you want about Grant Cardone, love him or hate him. And I take everything he says with a grain of salt, but he said something to me that resonated massive. And he said, create your own economy. And I was like, because our economy's been terrible we're like literally the only place pretty much in North America that was going down for 7 straight years. Everybody else is on the sky. We're going down and I'm setting record numbers. And he said, create your own economy. And I'm like, all right. And my business partner, Mark, big shout out to Mark Verzile, the $1 billion man, as we call him, because he sold over $1 billion worth of real estate. He came in and we came up with this concept, and we actually ended up selling out buildings in Calgary, because in Toronto, they have so much money in Toronto. Their market's gone absolutely bonkers, the most in Canada. We flew out to Toronto. We had this building in Calgary that was going to shut down. They were like, okay, we're not getting enough sales. We're done. Came up with this concept, flew to Toronto. We literally sold 150 units only to people in Toronto that had never even seen this building. And we came up with an investor package and crushed the whole building. So without something and thinking bigger and the 10X rule or whatever you believe in, literally we created our own economy. It's like I could have made excuses like, oh, the Calgary market and it's not selling and just shut down. I'm like, I'm selling this building. We have to figure out how to do this. We literally sold a whole building to a different city of investors, all via Zoom and different stuff. And they never even been to Calgary. So just don't sell yourself short. Surround yourself with people that are just going to literally open your mind up to possibilities that you thought maybe never existed. But just because you never thought of them doesn't mean they don't exist.
Yeah, the same person can walk by a piece of dirt and look at the garbage, right? And be like, man, someone needs to clean up that lot. Next person comes by and says, I could build a house there. Next person comes by and says, I could build, an apartment complex there. Next person says, I could build a skyscraper there. Like it's literally the same piece of dirt, right? But it's just your vision. It's the lens through which you're looking at. And what I hear you saying is surround yourself with people that are big thinkers, and all of a sudden you start to see the world differently. Brad, thank you for helping us do that today. Thank you for helping us see the world different today. How do people, obviously you're going to give us this platinum purchase program.
Yeah, sure.
How do people get involved in this 15-part coaching that you're talking about? Like, where do they go?
Coaching with Brad, coachingwithbrad.com. I'm so bad with technology. I'm seriously, dude. I think it's coachingwithbrad.com. I'm going to double check. Make sure it's there. With coachingwithbrad.com, when you actually go there, you actually register automatically for my live webinar that we talked about earlier for the how I'm going to show everybody how I do my first time homebuyer seminars via Zoom. So all that stuff is there. Come in, ask questions, ask about the program. It's super exciting. We're going to launch it hopefully in a few weeks. I'm reliant on realtors right now, so unfortunately it's taken a little longer than I wanted to because they have to give me the scripts, do the video, but we're slowly getting to the finish line here.
I love it. If this has been helpful to anybody listening here today, please give Brad some love, give us some likes, give us some shares. This will help get his message out, his message of impact, and have such an impact upon other people. Brad, thank you for everything you've contributed to us today. Absolutely poured into us. It's fired us up. And my final request of everybody listening here today are 3 simple words, and they are go think bigger. Brad, thanks for helping us do that, my friend. It's been such a pleasure.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having me.